Welcome back to my old house in Preston, Maryland. It's May of 2025, and I haven't posted a video in a while because I've been too cold. This was a very cold winter here on the shore in Maryland. Plus I had surgery and an illness, so not much got done in the past 6 months, but now that the weather's warming up, I got to get back with the program. You're looking at a window in the dining room, one of 3, and one of 8 on the first floor. And you may recall that I had to I padded out the studs to make the walls thicker. And the primary driver of that was the finished floor was too far away from the studs. So putting a 1/2-inch piece of drywall on the studs as they were, there would have been a large gap between the finished floor and the eventual baseboard location. So I padded out the walls, and that allowed me to locate the drywall, baseboard, and shoe molding such that there wasn't a gap between the finished floor and the wall. And the other major factor was the fact that the house had no insulation. So I had to insulate regardless, but making the walls a little bit thicker allowed me to put even more insulation into the walls. So that was helpful. But the fact that the walls have been made thicker meant that the original window jambs were no longer flush with the surface of the drywall. And when the house was originally made or built, it was built with plaster walls. And of course, plaster is a material that can be adjusted in thickness as you install it. So you can make the plaster a little bit thinner, or you can make the plaster a little bit thicker to account for any vagaries in the studs or the lath. Then everything comes out fine. But since drywall is uniformly thick, in this case 1/2 inch, there's an issue with the fact that the original jamb is no longer flush with the surface of the drywall, again because I made the walls thicker. So how do you take care of that? Well, a couple of things. What I will do is I'll put a jamb extension on the face of the existing jamb, so that'll bring the face of the jamb flush with the drywall. Now each window is going to be, a small fraction of an inch different in size than another one. They're all very close. When I say fraction of an inch, I'm talking 1/8 of an inch or less. And but within each window, there's going to be slight differences, again because of the jamb placement, the fact that it's 122 years old, the stud variation. So the distance between the existing jamb face and the drywall on the left side of any particular window might be different than on the right side of a window. So I have to take that into account when I do the jamb extensions. And this particular window here, as well as the other 2 in the dining room, I have not done the jamb extensions. I am going to head over to the powder room on this floor and show you where I have done the jamb extensions. And here in the powder room on the first floor, I have this window, which is actually not an original window, but it is an old double hung that I got off the back porch. And here you can see that I have installed the jamb extension. So the unpainted portion there on the left of this surface is the jamb extension. The right is the original window jamb. So the jamb extensions now make the drywall and the face of the jamb flush. So this will accommodate the trim. And of course I've got to do that not only on the sides of the window, but at the top of the window and at the bottom of the window where I have fabricated a stool. A lot of people call this the sill, but that's incorrect. This is the stool. And underneath you can see somewhat the dark is where the bottom jamb is. But again, that has received a jamb extension, as have the other sides, all the other sides of the window, thus making the face of the jamb flush with the drywall, and thus able to accommodate the trim properly. This stool here, because the walls were made thicker, the stools, the existing stools, were not sufficient depth. That is, the tails on the left and the right side here were too shallow for the trim that I wanted to use in the first floor. Except for this particular room. This room, I'll just use the 2 1/4 inch style trim, just, because it is off the kitchen powder room for the first floor, and the 2 1/4 inch is satisfactory in this little space. So the 2 1/4 inch trim not being terribly thick, this particular stool is actually an original that's been sized for this window and for the trim. So that'll be fine here. I do want to show you where I have gone from the windows that needed the jamb extension, like in the dining room, to a window that has the jamb extensions, through the stairwell in the living room, where I've actually trimmed the windows out. So let's go there now. So here in the living room, hopefully that'll come into focus. It's a little, it is overcast, so it's not as bright outside, but you may have a little difficulty seeing it with the contrast of the dark walls and the light windows. But in any event, I'll get it a little closer here. The windows have all been trimmed out here in the living room, as well as in the at the bottom of the stairs here. So again, you can see where I have fabricated the stool, and that's because of the trim I'm using here on the first floor in the living room, and the bottom of the stairs here. This is Adams trim, the outside edge of which is about 1 inch thick. So that's why I needed to make fabricate the stools so that the tails were deeper to accommodate the trim. And I'm going to go around to the living room here and see if we can get a little closer look at some of this trim detail. So at the top, I've recreated the rosette corner blocks, and again you can see the Adams trim, the detail on the trim, and how thick that trim is from the wall, and how down at the bottom, again, I've fabricated the stool so that it is deep enough to accommodate the thick outer band of the trim. And you can see that this shadow area right there, that is the face of the jamb extension. You can see that the joint between the jamb extension and the original jamb is barely noticeable. Once that gets finally scraped and sanded, it's actually going to get covered up with the stop molding, so you won't even see it. And what else did I want to show on this? Oftentimes when you do colonial trim on a window and you have a stool, then you reverse the colonial trim to make the apron under the stool. But in this instance, I wanted to, since the edge of the Adams trim is so thick, I kept it in its proper relationship and just mitered the corners. So what you have here is like a picture frame, and the stool transects the trim on the left and right side. And so I think overall, with the rosette blocks, which match the rosette blocks at the top of the door opening, that everything came out okay. Over on this window, the front window here in the living room, I've just tacked up a piece of the window stop molding, so you can see that that hides the joint between the jamb extension and the original jamb. So that's pretty much what I've done with the trim here in the living room. Again, I wanted to recreate some of the feel of what had been here originally. As remember, I only have enough of the original trim and casing left over to put up in the dining room, and that's still 3 windows and 2 door openings. So I'm going to have to piece a lot of it together and do a scarf joint and fill it in so you don't notice it. But the trim here in the dining room, the plinth blocks are the original that were installed in 1903, and then there's going to be fluted casing, which is going to require a lot of scraping in order to get it in good shape. The base board and the base cap is also the original that was installed in 1903. The shoe molding is modern, and again, all of the trim here in the living room is modern lumber, but done in the old style. And I think it came out okay as far as the overall look and feel. Obviously, I still have a lot more work to do. I've got to finish nailing it up so it's securely fastened. Those corner blocks are, right now, they're just sitting there. I've got to put another coat of primer on them and then nail them into place. And then I got to patch all the holes, not only in the window trim, but also in all of the opening jambs, baseboard, etc. So there's still quite a bit to do, but it's getting there. And once I've done the filling of the holes and sanding, then I can get some carpet and down, or area rug down, and furniture. So that'll give me a little forward progress on the interior of the house after I do this project with the trim here in the living room and the powder room and the bottom of the stairs. Then I need to work on getting the trim done here in the dining room. So again, I got 3 windows in the dining room to do the jamb extensions, scrape all the old casing, prime it, and get it installed here, not only on the 3 windows, but on the door to the kitchen and on the opening to the living room. So that's what's going on at the old house in Preston. And I will have to remove the mantle and do another coat of gold on the carving, but that should just be half a day's project. And again, I got a few pieces of trim to cut and fit in. Everything's a puzzle, but as I say, once the puzzle is complete, it'll look pretty neat. I think the floor again came out nice, and the floor with the new trim, once that's gotten its finished coat of paint, then the place should look pretty nice. So that's it for this video, and we'll see you in the next one.